Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on another episode from the Travel Collective. I'm super excited to reconnect with Nikki Page. She's a travel author, she's been on the Travel Symposium, and she has a brand new book out all about traveling called Let's Travel the World. So, welcome, Nikki.
Thank you, April. So this is the new book, Let's Travel the World, and in it I talk about everything I could think about that you need to know in order to get going on your trip. So I basically wanted to prepare people for this. It was kind of funny. It came about because I was talking to one of my great friends and we were talking about taking a trip, and I said I wanted to go to Thailand, and she said, like, we sat there and had lunch and we talked, and at the very end of it she gave me this dead, like, serious face, and she said that would be so cool, but I don't even know where to start.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Seriously? I'm like one of your best friends and I'm a travel author. All you had to do was ask me. But once I heard that, it was kind of like it kind of stuck in my brain, like, she doesn't know how to do it. Then there's a lot of other people who don't know how to do it. So that's kind of where the book came from and kind of what I built off of. So
right. And I like the lay of the book. I read the free sample that's available on Amazon, which is awesome. But all the topics that are covered, like, just deciding where to go and, what you need to do, I'm kind of like that whole, because I think that's what gets people nervous is you get overwhelmed by like, what do I need to do? And then, oh gosh, what do I need to pack? And how do I get a ticket? And then I think for a lot of people right now, it is. The money has just gone crazy for airfare tickets. And so you kind of touch on a lot of those things.
yep, the goal was just to basically make it so that people could travel and they could travel affordable. That I think that is one of the biggest things that we're running into, is being able to think bigger and outside the box, and how you are able to tie that into keeping the family trips or the big bucket list vacation that you want in the affordable range. And so I actually went back. It took an extra month for me to get it through publishing because I went back and added the extra couple chapters on being able to save on those tickets and stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's great. So, what kind of traveler do you think the book is geared towards?
I think it is geared towards, well, first of all, it's geared towards the beginning traveler who has no idea what they're doing. And then I also geared it towards more of the even expert travelers. And we did kind of like the deeper dive into the like credit cards and some miles and points and how you can save on tickets and things like that. I do some comparisons in there, and I have a whole chapter dedicated to miles so that you're able to see how to be able to travel for free, because that's my favorite thing to do is
Oh,
travel
that's
for
so
free.
cool.
I dedicated it when I had gone out. When I wrote the book, I had actually talked to some of my expat friends who, that's what they do. We all travel, and took a couple of the things that they wanted to know about, because we're all always learning as travel people.
Oh, yeah.
And I integrated them into the book too.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what do you think we need to do to be prepared for summer travel? We're seeing a lot of stuff in the news about, pilot strikes and, just flights being overbooked. I'm kind of cringing already for all the families that want to travel now that now that we're through the pandemic and summer's here and all of that.
Well, I think the biggest thing is being flexible. We talk a lot about in some of our previous videos about how we need to be flexible and kind of
Yeah.
just go with it. And I think now more than anything, I think 2020 showed us that we have to be flexible with our travels, and we really need to cover ourselves to understand. Like, I'll use my sister-in-law as an example. She flew in the other day,
Oh,
and
cool.
she flew in for like 4 days, and she was like quick trip in, and she was leaving immediately on Saturday morning because her son had a concert Saturday night, an award concert for school, and her flight had engine problems and technical problems, and so she missed the concert, which is heartbreaking, because I mean, really, from Denver to Texas there really isn't that much. I mean, they've got flights going all the time, but if you have that little window, it put her whole day, that one
Oh,
flight,
wow.
all off. So I think we just need to be very flexible and be understanding that we need to, when we're traveling, know that we might not make it to our destination on time, and have backup plans.
Yeah, I think backup plans are the key there. What about some packing tips? How do you feel about people? packing, checking bags? What do you
Oh
recommend?
my gosh. I do talk about how lucky I am because I've never lost a bag in the book. I've never lost a bag out of my decades of travel. However, my husband has lost a bag before. And so he has been in countries where he has nothing but what's in his carry-on or his
Oh,
backpack. And it actually happened a couple times on some business trips. So he showed up and basically he had what he was wearing and what he had in order to show up at his next work event.
oh
So
no.
I think that we need to kind of think outside the boxes when we're packing and things like that of, well, if it gets lost, keep the important stuff with you, the jewelry, the makeups, the things that you don't want to lose, the more expensive stuff in your bags, and check the rest of the clothes and stuff with a backup plan of I have clothes and I have a change of clothes in my bag.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. What do you think are some common mistakes that travelers make, and how can they avoid them?
I think the common mistakes is trying to be set to a schedule. I really believe that is probably one of the common mistakes, and I'm really bad at that. I don't know how you travel, but I used to be like, this is what we got to do. This time we're from here to here, from here to here. I mean, I had 4 children, so
Oh
we had to
yeah.
have some kind of schedule in order to get from point A to point B, or we'd never make it to point B. But I think being flexible in those travels and being able to say, you know what, maybe it doesn't look exactly like I had planned it out, but we're going to go over here and we're going to do this, or we're going to change it up a little bit more. So I think that that's one of the biggest things as travelers, to be prepared.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially this summer for people too. What are some tips for people that are concerned about choosing a place where the language might be an issue? They're not familiar with the language. Do you have tips on that?
Yeah, and that was one of our problems when we had moved down to Costa Rica. The language was not my language. And I actually encourage anybody, I encourage you, go to a country, they don't speak your language, be the minority and feel that weirdness. It's weird when you don't understand what people are saying around you. I I say embrace it, study it, and know your few words of where your bathroom is and the few things that you need to ask, like how to order a drink and where the hotel room is. And always for me, it is how do I get into emergency contacts? So like if we get there and there's something happens, do we call 911 or does the country have a different number that we need to be able to call? Because any emergency services, like when you call those, they should be able to connect you to somebody who speaks English or the language that you're speaking. So if I'm in China, I don't have to worry. I can get a hold of the emergency people. They'll connect me to somebody who speaks English. So I think that's a big one, is knowing that if something does happen, that you can get your help.
That's an excellent tip, and something we probably a lot of us don't even think about, that it could be a totally different phone number.
It
911.
really could. It could be something completely different, or the numbers on the phone. Like when you're looking at phones, I've been to countries where things just they don't look the same, and so you need to know how to push those buttons to get in contact with people. And one of the biggest things is your concierge at the hotel or your Airbnb should be able to help you. I try to know that stuff before I get on a flight to go somewhere because, being prepared. But if not, when you get there, you can always ask the concierge or your Airbnb host.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. What about safety? I know a lot of people are venturing out solo, or they may be meeting family at a destination. Do you have tips on staying safe and
Oh,
not getting pickpocketed, or that's another concern, of course.
yes, carrying space your money out. Never carry your money all in one place. I know, like we have hairband holders for women. We have, I know that some men, they've got like some men's straps that you can strap around your waist and stuff, kind of tucked under your clothes, in your shoes, things like that, because it stinks being pickpocketed or losing your money.
Yeah.
So just know that you have extra money spaced out and have that once again a backup plan of how to get things if you happen to be the victim of something like that. So like if you get pickpocketed and they take all your credit cards and you're in Thailand, you're going to need to be able to reach out to your credit card company, and so make sure that you have access to that so that if something awful does happen, you're able to get in contact with somebody.
Yeah, good tip. That's excellent. Like having the phone numbers maybe stored somewhere.
Yep. Usually on the clouds, where the cloud is a great thing because you can access it wherever you are. And so then at least then I can get into my my credit cards, call the company or my bank account and say, I I no longer have my cards. You guys need to put a hold on this. Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody steal your credit cards and then all of a sudden you've got huge bills because they went
Yeah.
up.
Right, exactly. Are there some destinations that you recommend for budget places? I know that's always a
Oh, one of
tricky
my
one.
biggest, so I was jumping around, especially, and I'm going to go yesterday, I was jumping around, kind of looking all over, is to check your flights all the time and have a list of the destinations you're looking for. Because I've got my bucket list, which is about 10 places now, maybe 15.
Yeah.
And I just kind of go through and I look at those. And I had landed, it was about, oh, it was last year. So it was when I was kind of hopping around looking at everything. I found tickets to Panama out of Colorado round trip for $50. And that
What?
wasn't using any miles or anything. So when I was in searching, and it's a daily thing, and I kind of talk about that in my book.
Okay.
Get on and search those destinations, and you kind of get familiar with knowing, well, they leave out of this time and they land on this time, so you can usually jump in and look really quickly. And I had been looking at Panama tickets for probably about a year, and I jumped in one day and literally $50. The whole plane had like 5 seats at the $50. We could upgrade to about $89 to business class, which all day long, if I'm going to fly a longer flight, I'm
Yeah.
upgrade for that $89. And we were able to book book a good chunk of that flight out for people to be able to get over to Panama at cheap. I mean, your
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
cost more than the trip than the tickets to Panama.
That's
So
amazing.
I think just keeping an eye out and knowing if you're not booking through the main companies, watch those third parties and make sure you're booking with somebody credible. So I think I hear a lot about people jumping on and not booking with a credible, like Kayak and things like that, that we know are, they stand behind there, but they go off to like an
Yeah.
unknown site and they book the
Right.
tickets and they end up in a bad situation. So I say stay to the good sites that you know, and just check the tickets regularly because you never know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a great price. That is amazing. Do you have some favorite travel thing accessories, things that you always pack?
I would never leave without my pillow. I get my travel pillow. Do you travel with one of those?
Yeah, I do. It's a small one, or that, or
It
I just rumple up a jacket, but I don't have a favorite one yet. I haven't
I have
discovered that.
I found this. It's like these they have like micro balls in them. So they like it fits around my neck and it kind of adjusts to where I need it. So like if I'm leaning up against the side of the airplane, I can kind of
Yeah.
wiggle it so it kind of adjusts up there. I love my pillow, and I really would not travel without one. And I know that they have them in blow ups. They have them so you can store them in, I mean, all kinds of different sizes, but usually I just clip it to the outside of my bag and away I go.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah, and that's allowed. I don't, sometimes
Mhm.
people don't worry, they think about how much stuff that they'll get stopped, but you're right. The pillow you can clip to the bag
Yeah.
and
Clip to the bag and it just wheels on in the carry on. And usually I unclip it and throw it in the seat as I put the carry on above me. So and then it's all right there for you.
yeah, we might have to get a link to that one for people if they want to
Yes,
try it
and
out.
actually in my book I actually talk, there's a link in the book that pushes you back to the my recommended travel gadgets and things like
Oh,
that, so you can
nice.
see all of them, and I included all the links back to the shopping, so you should be able to come in and be able to just put them in your shopping cart if you like them. So I included all the I went out and did all the research to find the best prices on them and put them
Yeah.
over on my website. So there's a link in the book that'll push you back to that, and then you can see I actually give you what my packing list is and how I pack everything for, so that I can travel with just a carry on, or if we're going to stay longer, what it looks like if we're in a carry on and a bigger suitcase.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally smart. That's a great idea. Wow. That makes getting the book worth it right there. The packing
Yes.
list and all the
Yeah.
shopping links.
Well, and those were, and I had put those in because they were some of the biggest things that I ran into problems when we first started traveling. I found myself, as the mom and wife, I was the one doing the shopping and finding all the stuff and making sure everybody had their stuff. And, obviously my list is really long. These are my wish lists. This is what we get. And as I was going through, I was like, gosh, if I could just tell people these are kind of cool, and maybe to you this is a must, but to me this is what it takes to get from point A to point B as comfortable as possible.
Yeah. Because if you're comfortable, that then you're more happy, you're not as stressed. I mean,
Mhm.
all those little things add up.
Yeah, the trip is just so much better if you're comfortable. If you show up miserable, it's terrible. That's why I was coming back from Costa Rica on the last one, and I had taken unclipped it from my bag because we had gone in somewhere. And when I came back out, I forgot to clip it back to my bag. And so as I was standing in security, I knew my husband was driving out of the airport at that moment. And I was like, oh no, my stuff just went down with him. And talk about a long trip. You know
Yes,
what you miss when you don't have it with you.
right, right. Oh, that is such a bummer. Oh my gosh. So, what are some tips for people that have limited vacation time this summer? I think,
Ooh, do you travel out of the country or do you
yeah.
travel in the country? I when we're on limited time, usually we do something more either local or close by because spending 9 to 12 hours on an airplane, and by the time you have a 12-hour flight somewhere, you've got 2 hours to get to the airport before,
Oh,
or
yeah.
I mean, like you've got 2 days consumed in travel, another day of rest. Well, if I've got 4 or 5 days a trip, I just spent my whole trip traveling, and I don't want to do that. So if you're on those shorter 4, 5, even 7, I'd say 7, you could still get to some pretty cool places and have be able to relax. But if you're under that, I would say check out locally. That was something that we kind of did this last year more than traveling international, because we had been out of the country for so long that
Yeah.
we hadn't really done the local stuff around us, like things for years people would come see here. And I'm like, we need to maybe adventure more locally, and maybe that 3 hour drive down the street instead of jumping on a plane to fly 9 hours is worth the 3 hours to check out something, or the 6 hours, because I know that the United States has a lot of beautiful
Oh,
things.
yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to leave. However, when you can, I would recommend it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm always, even on those shorter ones, then I would say, like, if I was traveling shorter and I wanted to get out of the country, I'd be checking out maybe like Bahamas or Mexico's another hot place, the hotter travel destinations, because they're not long flights.
Right, right.
I can jump a flight to Mexico or even Costa Rica or Panama a lot quicker than I can get to Thailand. It's going to
Oh,
take
yeah.
it's going to take me, I think I calculated the other day by travel and layovers, I think it's going to take us about 3 days to get from point A to point B, because you have the adjustment, their times flopped compared.
Yes.
So about 3 days of travel, maybe four, if you add a rest day in there. My whole vacation would be gone if I only had 7 days. So,
Yeah.
kind of, but if you have 14 days, that trip to Thailand might be worth it versus, the Bahamas or something a little closer.
Yeah. So how long out do you start looking for plane tickets?
I start at least 12 to 16 months, about a year usually. I'm looking for what we're doing
Yeah.
in January of next year. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not looking for killer flights. Like, we're flying out to Vegas here in a few weeks, and we're doing that on all really cheap
Oh,
killer
nice.
flights. I think four of us got flights for less than like $50. Um,
Wow.
you can jump on, and they were just quick little
Yeah.
trips back and forth. So those, I think we booked those like a month ago because we were all just looking at tickets, and it was like, oh, those are a good deal. You want to take a trip? Sure. But when
Yeah.
I'm looking for the bigger places, I usually start about 12 months out, and kind of maybe even 18, and kind of start watching the prices, kind of do, I call it my research.
Yeah.
It costs about $1,200 to get from here to Europe. Well, maybe 17 depending on the day. And so I know if I look, I should be able to get something around that 12 versus that 17. But if you wait too long
Yes.
and you are set on your days and you're not flexible with travel, sometimes you get stuck with those higher prices. So, and then I just say research and keep an eye on it until you can say, oh, I can buy that ticket.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It is good, if you have places. I like that idea, the running list, to just kind of
Uh-huh.
keep
Yeah. It's
looking.
just the running list, and I know I've done the research, so I know the months I want to go to. Because I think that's another thing as travelers is thinking, Mexico's beautiful for me when I can lay on the beach in January, but I sure do not want to be in Mexico in July when it is so hot I
Yeah.
can't even walk on the beach. So kind of knowing that this the time of year you're traveling and what what places you're going. Mexico kind of changes if you're on one side versus the other side. So keeping that in mind and doing your research on your destination.
Yeah, that's really smart. Do you have some sites that you like to use for just learning about places if you're not familiar? I think because a lot of people have misconceptions about, you're talking about Mexico and that's a biggie. People think it's all, one way. They don't realize it's a huge country.
Oh, a huge country. And not only is it a huge country, but if you're going for my travel has changed over the years. If you're going to just lay out and want to be catered to the all-inclusive resorts, things like that, it's you get away from you're not in Mexico really. I mean,
Right,
you're more in a resort where they're bringing you drinks and you're laying out on the pretty beach that they paid people to come and clean up for them, things like that, versus if you're going to Mexico and you're going down to Mexico and you're going to integrate and stand to with families and things like that and experience the cultures, they're way different trips right
right,
there.
right.
Even just feeding myself compared to eating in a resort is different, just because we try to find those cool little restaurants
Yeah,
off trips that people don't go to, the local families go to, because I get better food that way, um,
right.
versus the bigger destination families. So I'm sorry, I forgot what the question was. I
Oh,
kind of
just like if
Mexico.
people aren't familiar with Mexico, just figuring out like some a good website or reference that you like to use so they can think about, well, because there's towns they probably never even
Oh,
considered.
never even. So yeah, so I research. I do a lot of research, and I really recommend looking into travel guides, because there's all kinds of travel guides that kind of give you the little
Yeah.
nooks and crannies and things like that. Our website, vivapurpose.com, if you jump into my travel side of it, we are publishing, my goal with the launch of the book is that we're going to publish a country a week.
Oh,
And
wow.
we should be publishing at least the top things that you're doing in the countries for, I think it's 59 days. So it was like travel the world, and we were dropping into each country. So I was kind of pointing out, this is what these are the cool things you can do when you're in Belize. These are the cool things you can do when you're in Scotland, things like that. So I would say check out our website. And then I would
Yeah.
also say go and check into your public library is a great source that is free. Check into the
Yeah.
public library and check into their travel guides. And then you can check all of those out and they don't cost you anything. You can also get all kinds of travel guides. I've got them on my website too. I've taken the shopping out. So you should be
Nice.
able to go in, and if you're reading a blog on Belize, there should be links somewhere there that should link you over so you can be able to buy the links to the Lonely Planets or whatever you're looking out there on the best travel guides.
So your website again is vivapurpose.com.
Thepurpose.com. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah,
So
that's exciting.
yeah, there's a publishing side on that, and then there's the travel side. So when you click over to the travel side of it, it'll just take you right over to all of our blogs and our travel people. And feel free to shoot me questions. I'm on social media and on the website. Usually, if you go through the website and shoot a question through email, I get it quicker, because it doesn't have to go through so many people to get to me. But shoot me questions so that we can talk and things like that, because I love hearing what people are doing, and I also like to know where people are traveling, because
Yeah.
that's kind of how I get my inside stuff too. So,
Right. So yeah, what are some of the destinations that are coming up in this series? That's
so
exciting.
yeah, and well, and I talk in the book about like when we went to Scotland, you were talking about solo traveling and stuff, and
Yeah.
um that's something I've struggled with as a traveler who has traveled since I was very, in my teens. The thought of really solo traveling, I've done it. I've flown from point A to point B and hooked up with a group of people and things like that. But to solo travel by myself through Europe, any of you people out there doing that, I mean, like, I give you a round of applause, because
Yes.
I'm just not, I'm not comfortable with it. But yeah, I'm going to do that this upcoming year. It is on my trip. I'm going to do 7 days of solo traveling all by myself. I'm not quite for sure where I'm going. I'll probably end up in Europe somewhere.
Oh,
But
nice.
I'm doing it just to see, because I hear all these great things from everybody and how cool it is. And I really would like to experience what it's like by myself. But I kind of talk about that of when we were in Scotland, my husband was out, he was working. And so for me to go out, it was like I was like a solo traveler because
Yeah.
I was doing things by myself. And that was a little tricky. And I kind of challenge everybody to do a little by themselves because it kind of shows you a lot about yourself. And
Yeah.
when partner who I love to death, my partner and I travel with a group of friends a lot, their influences affect the way we travel. And so when it's just you do things that you might not normally do with other people. It's kind of, kind of unique. So that's kind of something I talk about too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I think that's exciting. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'll be honest. It's like I applaud all these solo travelers out there that are just going places and doing it on their own. I think you have to learn some stuff about yourself first. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, some
Yeah.
of us do enjoy spending, sharing that shared experience versus, oh wow, there's no one else around to watch my bag or,
Yeah.
if I
I'm
get
I'm on this tour of a castle and there's nobody here. I mean, like I'm surrounded by 20 people, but I don't know any of these 20 people. And I ended up making some really good friends
oh
when we were
nice.
down in Scotland and they ended up coming and doing some more tours with me and my husband later on during our trip. But it really was stepping outside my box. And I guess I kind of challenge everybody who's traveling to really step outside their box. If it's solo traveling or eating at the restaurant that maybe you wouldn't normally go into because it doesn't look like the Chili's down the street. It's got
Yeah.
like a little sign out front. It looks like the mom and pop from Mexico or Scotland or something owns it. Those I kind of challenge you to step outside your box and experience that because it's eye opening. So
Yeah, it is. Are there certain places that you're hearing people are interested in going? Because I think it seems like to me, and I'm on a lot of travel calls and talk to a lot of travels, people are wanting to go to some really unique destinations that are, I think it's that being shut down in COVID, they're like, okay, I want to go to the farthest, most exotic place. So,
exotic, yes, exotic. And I don't know my words of exotic versus somebody else's words of exotic could be very different because
yeah.
like I was looking at my friend talk about Mexico, go back to Mexico the other day. She's like, it was so exotic. And I'm like looking at her going, it was Mexico. Honey, I
Yeah.
know you've never been out of the country before, but it was Mexico. Let me go show you some exotic. And that's where I think like I bring Thailand up, Asia. I hear a lot of people going down to Asia and looking
Yeah.
down into Africa and those areas down. I go back to kind of like the Italy. I'd like to go through Asia. I'd like to get down into that Thailand area. Those are all really interesting places to me. One of the biggest things is once again do your research and know the requirements because we are still COVID will be here forever, and I hate bringing up that word, but
No, I know.
there are travel requirements in other countries that are sometimes harder than our countries, and obviously we know those travel requirements can change at any time. So be flexible, be open, and do your research so you know what you're walking it, so you know you can get there. Because I hear a lot of people
Yes.
at the airport and I couldn't board my flight because I didn't bring my vaccine card.
Right. Yeah,
Oh, you didn't bring it
I
wasn't even that
know.
they hadn't been vaccinated. It was that they didn't bring their vaccine card, so they missed the whole flight.
I
And it was like,
know.
oh man, so you got to make sure that you understand. And a lot of those countries have lifted regulations. So I mean, I can go almost, not everywhere, but I can go almost everywhere we were able to go before lockdown happened.
Oh,
So
nice.
kind of nice because that kind of gives us more of those exotic destinations. I would love to go to Japan. Japan is like I call that very exotic because
Yeah.
I think it would be so much out of my comfort zone. And I've heard many of the travel people from my groups go down there and they do it solo, which
Oh,
I don't know if I
really?
could do Japan solo. I think that would be a little too overwhelming for me.
Yeah,
But they
especially with the language and the signage and all of that.
yeah, I would think trying to get around would be extremely hard. And I hear if you're prepared, it's really not that bad. And I think if you're doing a solo trip, you're maybe even more prepared than if you're traveling with
Yeah.
people. But I think that would be a really cool location to get down to and kind of check out and see, because it's just so different.
Yeah, exactly. And because of the language and because of the none of the words are in anything that we can
Yep. No,
decipher.
None of the signs. I wouldn't even know where to go because I can't read the signs. I hope they put little food sign, they
Right. Yeah.
Americans, you go here.
Right, exactly.
I
or
mean,
at least or
so,
at least like north, you want to go north, you want to go, yeah, city center,
mhm,
something in it, something to help us, because otherwise I think I'm
exactly.
standing there on the platform like, okay.
But I think if anything, lockdown showed us that it only takes a minute to not be able to travel. And so when you're able
Yes.
to travel, go and embrace that and step, like you're saying, step out of your comfort zones to those exotic places that don't speak our language and that are completely different than us. And then I say go experience the culture when you're there. Doesn't matter where you're going, what was on your bucket list. When you're there, experience the culture, get out of the all inclusive
Yeah.
English speaking places and go speak to the people who don't speak your language. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Laugh a lot at us. But go try their foods. Go see what they do. I mean, we all, as much as I love to jump on a boat and take it out and look at the pretty crystal blue water, usually look they're down at like a soccer game or something. Go check out the local soccer game or the local football
Yeah.
game. There's so much more.
Right. I think that's a great place to end it, Nikki, is just encouraging people to get out and do it. I think that is the one thing we got from lockdown. It lasted so long and it took a chunk of our lives, for many of
It,
us, being healthy and being able to get around these places. I mean, travel it's very physical. I mean, I applaud people that have, limited, maybe it's hard to walk or it's maybe they have other issues. I mean, a lot of these places I'm out there and I'm thinking there's a curb, there's cobblestones. I mean, if you're
mm-hmm.
not able to,
Well, and I actually in the book I actually talk about traveling with disabled parents. I didn't really go into once you get there, but I did talk about wheelchairs and
yeah,
how to travel with those electric scooters and things like that because it is I look at my parents who are, well into their 70s who need assistance, but yet they're not done traveling yet.
no,
So
right,
um, but the cobblestone, you got to be really understanding. You've got to kind of look at and say, where am I going to be able to go and what am I going to be able to do when I get down there?
right, exactly.
So
Yeah, so tell everyone where to get your book so they can get off the couch and get going.
yes, so you can get my new book. You can get it on Amazon and you can get it at Barnes and Noble. A lot of the bookstores are now stocking them now because
Oh,
they're being
nice.
printed. So you can go into your local bookstore and ask for it. Most of them should be able to. You can also get it off of our website at com. You can jump on a copy and start traveling today. Get prepared and learn what it takes. I mean, realistically, I think as travelers, there's so much to do, but being prepared is the very first step.
Right, exactly. And there's just so many amazing places to go, but just get out there and go do it. So I'm excited to connect again with you, Nikki. I'm excited to hear where you might be going in this coming months so that we can hop back on and have a call about it in the future. So once again, tell them your website because you cut out just a little bit on the audio then.
Did I cut out? Okay, yep, we are at vivapurpose.com. And the book is Let's Travel the World. And I'm Nikki Page. So, and like I said, if when you guys jump in and look at it, if you have questions or anything about travel, please connect with me.
Yeah.
And April, I know if you're watching April, you've already probably connected through most of the groups and stuff because she has a heck of a program.
Oh, well,
So I really do. I send a lot of people. I'm like, oh, you want to know about that? Go watch April. She'll tell you all about that. She interviewed somebody from there.
yeah, exactly. I know. Well, thanks again, Nikki, and hope everyone has safe travels this summer. And I'm excited to connect again and we can have another chat about where you've been. So thank you.
Yes. And I'll send you a link to the book and we can drop that
Yes,
down in the
we're going to
comments
drop
section.
it in
That'll
the
take them right.
links. Yep, we're going to drop
So
the
yeah,
links to
I
your
will drop that.
website. And we're also going to drop links to if you want to just reach out to Nikki if you have questions, because Nikki's been a lot of places. I love it. And this whole couple chapters just on traveling with Point and Miles looks really, really interesting. So I would definitely dig into that. So
Yes. So I look forward to talking to you soon.
yeah, take care.
You too.